that we need to do some reframing and that we need to stop thinking about a safety net. Because a safety net is actually a trap. And it's meant to tangle us up and look like a big dead fish. Instead, I think we have to think about health and human services supports as rungs on a ladder, and how we use data and technology and different connection points within a community, not just to band-aid and to provide a one-time service without really thinking about what those outcomes are. I think also another trend that's really important to think about is the whole field of the social determinants of health. That actually the beauty of the Affordable Care Act is, as we've shifted to value-based care, healthcare is actually interested in helping people meet their basic needs so that they can be healthier. So when we think about social determinants of health, think about food insecurity, think about housing stability, and the big P, poverty. Like, let's just call it for what it is. Machine learning and access to data. The amount of data that is available, whether we want to talk about it at the state level, at the community level, within our not-for-profit partners, within our private sector partners, we know exactly who is in need in this city. We know all 400,000 individuals that are living below the poverty line. I would suggest that it's our job to use that data to better connect people to the right supports at the right time in order to, again, climb up that ladder. That's a critical piece of what BDT does. We actually work with state agencies to use their data. We use Medicaid data as a really great starting point. But just to give you an example, in the state of Pennsylvania, there's 650,000 people that are on Medicaid, not on SNAP. So, and just think about what that does for our Medicaid budgets. If I can't figure out how to eat, how am I going to be my most healthy self? So then as we think about the social determinants of health, that's why these gears are so important, to really connect those pieces. And again, I think that the work being done on the focus on outcomes, the fact that we're having this conversation at a community college and I got invited to talk about safety net supports is a win. And so just more conversations around aligning on those outcomes and really how we think about aligning the services and supports over time is absolutely a trend that's both necessary and exciting. And finally, I will suggest, although it seems painfully slow, that there is effort afoot around health and human services integration. There are bright spots. I think if we look out of what is going on, the work that CEO out of the mayor's office is doing around the Benephily initiative, in which BDT leads, and the work that's being done in the community, there are absolutely bright spots, and I can't wait to connect then to those workforce efforts. So there is integration happening. We just need to continue to accelerate it. So just around focusing on what works. I attended Brandeis, the Heller School for Social Policy, back in the early 2000s, and there was a gentleman, the dean there was Jack Shonkoff, and he was building a book called Neurons to Neighborhoods. And Neurons to Neighborhoods was all about the brain science of the 0 to 5 and the criticality of those first 1,000 days and really how that influences building better brains, building those pathways. And when we think about safety net services that currently exist, like WIC, WIC has been proven to lead to higher birth rates, and higher academic achievement, yet only 67% of eligible moms and families are enrolled. So evidence-based, we know this program works to build higher academic achievement, which we know higher academic achievement is then connected to your ability to get to college. So again, it's about kind of building these rungs over time. Medicaid and CHIP, we know that it reduces infant mortality and better overall health in the future. I imagine we can all agree to make the connection that better overall health is going to lead to the ability to more likely to thrive. SNAP, food stamps, obviously reduces food insecurity, but that leads to less behavioral problems. It leads to better health and it leads to better cognitive development. Yet SNAP is currently on the chopping block federally. Pre-K, congratulations to the city of Philadelphia. Thank you, Governor Wolf, for his work in investing in pre-K. There's convincing evidence that low-income kids are better prepared for school, academically and emotionally. So when we talk about Mr. Castro, is he still here? What he was saying around the social and emotional development, the investments in basic needs supports to be able to strengthen our most important muscle, to be able to build those social and emotional pathways. It makes sense. We all know what we feel like when we're hangry, right? We all know. Now imagine if that was all the time. How are we supposed to go to school? How are we supposed to get to work? Let alone feeling that way and knowing your kids feel that way. Home visiting. I was like, let's look at the evidence around home visiting. Man, is it powerful. 82% increase in maternal employment. 39% fewer injuries for children. 59% reduction in child arrests at the age of 15. 67% reduction in behavioral and intellectual problems at age 6. Those are mind-blowing. And that's just for the 0 to 5. We got more, guys. And some of these are going to repeat, so I won't go into every one. I'm happy to share. This is all evidence. This isn't ginger surmising, which I also can do, believe it or not. But this is actually the evidence base. And I guess I want to point out, too, that this also can be negative to negative. The state of California predicts prison populations based on 3rd grade reading level. So if we don't get smart about how we invest in those early rungs in that 0 to 5 or in school-age kids, this problem will continue to persist. Again, SNAP improves reading and math linked to higher graduation rates. I know that matters to our community college friends. So does free school lunch, positively affects graduation rates. FAFSA, so Pauline Abernathy just joined us, and she's been teaching me about how we can support and really kind of build these pathways out of poverty. FAFSA, assistance in filling out a FAFSA form, just assistance in filling out a form. Increase the likelihood of an individual going and completing 2 years of college by 29%. And that's from a H&R Block study, I believe. I mean, that's, again, as we think about how we help people get and stay and complete college, filling out a form really matters. And again, Medicaid and CHIP, a baby who's enrolled in Medicaid, it leads to improvements in reading and math in 4th and 8th grade. So the impacts do stretch over time. Now there's a really interesting article by Brookings called The Social Genome. I encourage you all to read it because it also shows you that there's a law of diminishing returns. That if we invest in 0 to 5 and then we don't do anything for kids or for early adults, you see that the impacts actually dissuade. So again, where I think around the connections is we have to use that data. We know every baby that's born on Medicaid. Every baby born on Medicaid should be getting WIC, period. And then we know when that kid's going to be eligible for child care supports, right? I mean, it's math. We know their birth date. We know when they should be getting enrolled. There's no reason we shouldn't be using that data across programs and across agencies, both locally and at the statewide basis, to make sure that we can make sure that the right people are getting those right services. Credit boosts work effort as well is associated with higher wage growth. So that, again, that's another piece. We know who's eligible for the tax credit because we know what they pay in taxes. We know their wages. Again, it's about using this data and being smart about how we serve and support people. And also the Oregon Medicaid study also shows that individuals who were able to access Medicaid had used more primary and preventative care. So Medicaid works. Finally, 60 plus. So Benefits Data Trust got our start, in helping individuals 65 plus access prescription assistance. And then we stretched really to think about, well, there's a myriad of benefits that are eligible for, that seniors should be eligible for. And back in 2009, in partnership with the city, we started to explore how to help with SNAP. And we said, okay, let's go find the outcomes-focused research that shows that when seniors are able to access SNAP, that they are healthier. Seems pretty logical, right? Again, this is kind of no-duh research. And it hadn't yet existed. It had not yet been developed. So we engaged with Johns Hopkins, funded by Robert Wood Johnson, and we actually looked at a whole population of older people on Medicare and Medicaid, so living below 100% of the poverty line. And we crossed their claims data with SNAP enrollee data to understand increased access to food supports lowers the likelihood of nursing home utilization, lowers hospitalization rates, lowers ER use, saving approximately $2,000 the next year in healthcare costs. It costs about between $70,000 and $90,000 to put someone in a nursing home. It costs around $1,200 to make sure that they can afford their groceries. It's just kind of a no-brainer, and we've just got to get smarter about how we're aligning these programs. So, what's next? We got to get to work. We certainly need to move from a Band-Aid solution of like, I'm going to provide you a SNAP, I'm going to provide you a SNAP, and then that's where I'm going to draw the line, to really aligning on outcomes. And so a conversation like the one that we're having here at the community college, and really thinking about what are the rungs, what are the necessary supports and services that people need to survive first and then thrive. And we need to be dogged in who's at our table. I would suggest to the group. We need to continue to push for data-driven efforts. Again, this is not a mystery box. It's just about unlocking the data that we all have and that our state agencies have to be smarter about how we support people on their pathway out of poverty. And we need to be fierce about building smart policies. Healthcare needs to be at the table protecting SNAP. I would suggest our friends at Comcast need to be at the table protecting SNAP. That we really need to be smart about who is aligned around the right investments. Because quite frankly, government relations folks at healthcare are a lot more tooled than government relations folks at BDT. And it's not to say anything about the beauty of the government relations folks at BDT. It's about power, and it's about access. And we've got to continue to push that narrative and transform that narrative. Finally, I think that as public sector, not-for-profit, we really need to think about monetizing the value of our services. So pay-for-success models work, and BDT is excited to be exploring those. And I think as a sector, we need to move from heartstrings to purse strings. And there's a value in the services that we are offering, and we need to get serious and own that space and continue to enhance our sophistication about the true value of the services that we provide, because they work. And we have to continue to think about access and again, supporting people on their pathway out of poverty. So thanks.